your host here, as it were. I am your Leon Phelps of mythology, right? I'm here for your mythological queries, right, as it were. So today, again, guys, I do put a lot of research. I put a lot of time in actually preparing good material because I want to deliver good content. It's very important for me that I'm delivering for you guys actual good content. So I take time, man. I think about my content, right? And I'm telling you guys, I think I got a good one for you guys today because this is a really interesting topic. We all think about it. These are three representations of death, right? And not that this is a death show or anything like that. Simply like we're just kind of looking at the various expressions of how different cultures kind of express death. That's what we're going to see. And we have a couple of really old figures. Let me get my notes ready, man. I'm sorry, I apologize, guys. I should have my notes on full deck at all times, right? So I got my notes. Where are my notes at? Right here. All right, there we go. Right. These are my notes here because I want to be able to give you guys this like pure, unadulterated breakdown about the death, the representations of death from these cultures. And this goes way back. This is deep. Like this is deep in the streets mythology because we're going all the way back to Mot. And Mot is called the devourer, the Lord of the Pit. So where he comes from is ancient Ugritic cultures. So this is way back. This is some of the earliest mythologies that we have written down, right? This is coming back to some ancient, like Ugritic tablets and things like that. So literally stone, they were stoning the storytelling at this time, which is quite admirable, right, by the way. And then we get into Mictlantecuhtli, right, who is the, Mesoamerican, and I say Mesoamerican because I don't know that Aztec is the word we're supposed to use anymore. I think that was replaced, or that was like a misclassification or mislabeling. And I think the new word is Mexica, something in that vein. I'm probably getting that wrong. But at any rate, this is a deity from Mesoamerica, and he is Mictlantecuhtli, right? And this is the Lord of Death over there, right? If death is anything in that belief system, it's a system, and it's a system where it's processing you. These are steps to this, and things just have to go down this way, right? This is never personal in this belief system there, and that's very comforting. For a little bit, right? And then, of course, we have Baron Samedi, right? And then Baron Samedi, this is the voodoo insertion into how we understand death. He is the coolest cat in the box, right? Obviously by a long shot. Like everybody's like, you know what, Ma, you can really learn a lot from the Baron, right? And I'm just saying, just the name, like you put Baron Samedi, right? Versus Mott. So you can see he's far more advanced in his marketing, and it's going to show out when we talk about their chronological timelines, like how these guys are doing right now, because a lot of this stuff is going to be marketing, right? A lot of this is like who's marketing themselves correct. And you see Baron Samedi, man, he's got what looks like possibly a blunt, right? He's got maybe it's a cigar, maybe. It's pretty likely it's a cigar. I'm just saying it wouldn't be unheard of if that was also a blunt, right? So we do know this about this gentleman here. He's got a cane with a skull on it, right? He has a top hat on, right? He kind of cuts it off there, but the guy has a top hat on, right? So and a purple vest. This guy is actually clean, like, and he's still got all the bone representations. Like this is how you do bone classy. This is the classy boneyard, right? Whereas these guys are like, you're just very literal with it, right? Like both these guys are very literal. Ooh, I got some skulls hanging from my ears and some skulls around. Like it is impressive. I'm showing my ribs. Okay, yeah, all that stuff is very impressive. I'm just saying this is a representation of death that I would say I prefer, right? It's much cleaner, much like if I gotta go, it's gotta be this guy where it's like, look, you can either hit this or not. You're dead already, right? It's just kind of a calm way of coming about it. But each one of them really represents like a fascinating aspect of what they actually mean, like what they mean for the people who were, running in fear from these guys, who were trying to warn them off. So first we're going to talk about Mott. I'm going to kind of give you guys a breakdown of each one of these. We're going to have a vote on who your favorite one is, right? I'm going to go through the timeline, see who's still actually, relevant right now. Like, we're going to talk about the OG. So we're talking about Mott because this is the oldest one. This is the first representation. And he's got really, I'm not going to lie, okay? I was kind of down in his marketing earlier when we started this, right? But he does have some very cool add-on names, right? It's Mott. He is the devourer, right? He is known as the Lord of the Pit. Like, that is, like, really, man, that's one of the top nicknames out there. That's right up there with, like, Air Jordan, right? Mailman, Rain Man. It's up there. It's up in that. And where he comes from is ancient Ugaritic culture. This is Canaanite, right? This is the Bronze Age. This is like 1400 BC, 1200 BCE, that culture. But he personally has an older lineage than that will break down on the timeline. But his domain was just real simple, man. He was like, I'm going to do death. I'm going to do drought. I'm going to do sterility. I'm going to do the underworld, decay. I'm going to do cosmic interruption. He took all the bad stuff. He took everything that you're like, where he cleaned house. I don't know if that's just what was left, when they were all taking what they wanted to do, but clearly he cleaned up on this. He went to the bargain bin and got every single one of these. Like, all these are on the 99-cent shelf down there. And he took full advantage of them. So he's like, this is what I'm going to work in, primarily because I only have to wear one uniform. I get one outfit, and it works in every single one of these, one of these archetypes, right? Like, each one of them. So I'm consumption. I'm death as consumption. I'm death as, you see, he's got his mouth open. Baron over here's got like a cigar, a blunt, debatably, right? He debatably has a blunt in his mouth, okay? We're not going to talk about that now. We'll talk about that later. But you can see, Mictlantecuhtli, right? He's kind of just chilling, right? Like, maybe it's a greeting, maybe he's gonna, I don't know what he's gonna do, right? He's kind of bony, but we can see Mott, and he's got his mouth open. He's ready to bite, right? He's ready to get into a bite right now. So we don't have to go far to kind of, get the mannerisms of who this guy is and how he suits this name. So he is literally death if it were personified, right? His name means death. His name doesn't even mean anything else. There's not another, like, this has come from like some Western Semitic languages where his name comes from. So this is old school. He's not symbolic. He is metaphorical, right? He is the embodiment of death. He is what happens very clearly. He is what happens when the rain stops, when the crops fail. This is when bodies rot. This is kings fall, right? And the gods themselves disappear. This is not death when death was hanging out with Woody Woodpecker. This is not that kind of starvation. It's not that level. This is a much deeper core because he's right there, like, when it's all bad. And it's kind of, and he's there to consume you. You become the consumed. And he's in this ancient myth core. He's in what I like to call the Baal cycle. Now, most of us, and I just done another video, I don't know why I pointed behind me. I just done another video about Baal and like his timeline, or at least one of the Baals. And there's a great mythology that surrounds us. And I'm going to get into that in a bit. But his dichotomy is that obviously he's what happened when there's no rain, when there's drought. That's the camp he chose. Baal was the opposite. He brought rain and he brought fertility. So obviously these guys are going to have a tussle, man. It was going to be a long-term tussle. And Mott challenges him. And here's the thing, man. I'm not going to lie to you. Mott wins. He takes out Baal. He takes out the fertility god. And that's not a good storyline, right? That's not a good storyline. He brought drought. He replaced rain and fertility with drought and devouring silence. That's what we got instead, right? Imagine one day you're like, man, I'm glad we got all this rain and fertility, and the next day they replace all that with drought and devouring silence. You would be upset. You would be upset, but that's happened. So Baal in the story, Baal descends into the underworld. The rain stops. The land gets dry and crusty. Life collapses, and this is not symbolic theology. This is not what this is. This actually happens sometimes. This is for that area of the world, the ancient Levant area, which was agriculturally challenged, to say the best. Civilization could collapse just like that. Drought could come, right? Mott showed up, and the civilization ended. So this wasn't like a deep philosophical debate about who this character was. This was live and direct today. Are you watching out for him? Is that Mod over there? That's literally what he meant. So this wasn't like a Halloween figure. This is agriculture linked to your extinction. So how they portrayed him is very different. Like he's different than Hades. They don't see him like Hades, who was kind of like quiet. Like for all the stories that we tell about Hades, like did he kidnap a little girl? Yeah, he did that. Okay, I don't really hear about him messing with anybody else, and I'm not excusing that. I'm simply saying he didn't do nothing after that, at least to me, right? For the most part, unless I'm missing some Hades stories. Like I know we saw it in Wrath of the Titans, where Hades was tripping, right? That was Hades. Yeah, that was Hades. Yeah, he did kind of trip in that, and I don't know if we add that to the Hades mythology, but we should really think about it in that way. But Mod's personality is very different. His guy is very aggressive. He is very aggressive. Like he wants to go down. He wants it to happen. He literally does. He's like, I wish. You know how there's two creeds of life, like I hope and I wish. Hope creed and the wish creed. Hope everything goes right versus I wish somebody would, right? Do you understand the differences? This is what an aggressive attitude looks like. And Mott is that. Like you see, he has a gigantic mouth. The big mouth is part of his description, right? That he devours gods as well. He eats gods and humans. So this guy's pure omnivore. Like I didn't eat gods too, right? And he's sitting at a pit of filth. Thank you, Kat, for joining in. Thank you for listening. And this guy, he's not neutral death, right? Like he actually wants this to happen. He is hungry death. He is a death that's coming out to consume you, right? So he's probably laughing while this whole thing is going down, okay? That's who this guy is. And then his underworld is very different from even, Helheim or Mictlantecuhtli's land, right? This is more like a swamp. It's more like a pit. This is a land of mire and dust, right? So this isn't the place that, you want problems to be at, right? Of a lot of the underworlds, and we've talked about a lot of these underworlds. I don't know if I added a comment or not. Like, what is going on here? From this perspective, a lot of the underworlds, this is one of the more, kind of grimy underworld, right? Okay, I'm trying to send my message off here. And I'm a rookie at this. So this is his underworld. Swampland, it's a pit, it's dirty, the sun doesn't shine here. And he's completely happy with this terrible place. This is more like the digestive tract of the cosmos. That's actually how you should see it, right? He consumed you, and you're in the belly of the beast. Literally. You're in the belly of the beast. And I don't mean in the Pinocchio, you're in the whale belly of the beast type of way. I mean, you're in the belly of the beast of what consumes the cosmos. You see, he wants to bite the cosmos. If you're ever out in real life and you see somebody looking at you like that, I hope you run. I hope that you run, because whenever your mouth is never open like that for anything good, right? Your mouth open that wide is all, but you don't laugh that loud, right? Nobody does. So that's what we have to understand, who these deities are, right? Okay. So, but the best part of the story isn't even that. The best part of the story is not, so he wins. He took fertility and hope and everything. He was holding it down. The best part of the story is when Anat shows up, right? Anat, the warrior guy, she shows up and she gives this guy an ass whooping of epic proportions. I've never even read about an ass whooping of this epic of proportions in any mythology. Like, I've read all the mythologies and all that stuff since I was a kid. And even this one, I was like, wow, she really got into it, man. I just did a mythology. I think it's up on the channel already, or I'll upload it, right? I'll upload it. But yeah, so she comes through and she wrecks shop. This is Anat's story, because she's like, no, I have to restore the season. She's the protectress of life, right? So she's like, no, I can't let you kill Baal. So she goes down and she like handles it and she grinds him up so that Baal can come back and rain and seasons can all that can come back. So, but he does take an L, right? He takes an L, an epic L, a laughable L. Like, other gods are laughing at you for the way she handled that business. Like she's Sekhmet-like. She's Sekhmet-like, and I'll talk about that now. I did talk about her yesterday, so you can check out yesterday's live. But she was like, knee deep in blood type of mythology, right? I loved every bit of it. and was completely shocked all the way through. Okay, so so she grinds him down, but he comes back because he's ancient. He's older than all this stuff. He's not just like an avatar or a psychopomp, or how they word that. There's no ethics. He's more like cosmic entropy with an attitude. Like, he's always swallowing. He's the desert that consumes civilization, and he represents this Bronze Age mythology, right? Like, he is all that. He's the worst out of all of them. Okay, so then we go to Mictlantecuhtli, right? Which, like I said, I'm very proud of where I've come with the pronunciation of this name, right? I can't say it 3 times fast or even 2 times in a row, but I don't have to, because he has other cool names, including the Lord of the 9 Layers. Like, I would roll with that, man. The Lord of the 9 Layers. Like, man, that's at the top right there. That's real boss. That's real boss stuff, right? And this is a guy, like, you always hear about him because he stays prevalent in video games, right? He stays up in video games. Like, he's in a lot of myth stories, and look at the image, right? You can see it's cool. He's feathered. There's some depth there. You're kind of afraid of him, but yet he looks wise at the same time. And I'd say that's accurate to really who is. It's death, but it's far more administrative, right? This isn't the Grim Reaper. This isn't the guy who's chasing you down, laughing about it the entire way. He's not that. He's not the devil. He's not here to judge you. He's just like, this is a system, and I got to do my job, right? Like, look, this is my job. I'm hired to do it. I'm not calling in sick for you, right? So this is where most people go after death, and it's not because they're evil. This is not about sin, not in this world. It's just because you died normally. Like, that alone separates them in how the religions go, right? Because in this cosmology, there are different places that you go depending on how you die. And I don't know if I know another cosmology, because if you drown, you go to Tetlock, right? I believe the name is. If you died during childbirth, that's a completely different realm. If you were killed in battle, you got to go up to the sun, right? So there's a lot of these where I'm like, man, so how you die also matters, right? How you die also matters. So if you die to ordinary death, you're going to this domain. This is ordinary death domain. So it's not a fiery hell. It's this 9-layered, right? Obviously, underworld, right? So the souls, they just appear and they kind of move around for years. You pass through several trials. You're crossing a river with the help of dog. You face these mountains, right? It's some toughness here, man. Like, there's cutting winds. You have to pass through darkness and despair, right? Darkness and despair. This is not a punishment. I don't see how it's not a punishment, actually. Even as I said that, I'm like, how is this not a punishment? But they present it as a transition. Like, death is a process. This is like if death was the MVD, right? Department of Motor Vehicles. I've lived in a couple of states. I just remember being a kid and having to go to the Department of Motor Vehicles in California. And it sounds a lot like this. Like, this is kind of how I would equate it. Like, we have to go, it's a process. Man, it's a brutal process, man. Every step of the way, it's a brutal process, right? Like, and he rules this, and they say he's not a torturer, but he kind of watches you. He doesn't torture you personally, but he doesn't watch you go through this. And he's just like, hey, you know what I'm saying? It is what it is, right? He's not a savior, but it's his house. Like, he's like, look, I can't control the rules. I just wrote them down. That's kind of how he's moving about the system, right? And you see he's got this appearance. Like, he absolutely unforgettable appearance. Absolutely. He's got the skeletal check, right? He's always going to show his ribs, just like you're topless, you're shirtless. Like, yeah, I'm ribbed out, right? He's got the skull face, which is the classic skull face look. He's got the owl feathers, right? So you get the mysticism in. He's got the necklace of eyeballs. Sometimes he has a necklace of eyeballs, which I'm like, man, that's really top tier right there. That's really like top tier peacocking when you have, right, eyeballs around your neck, right? So he just shows you. He's got his jaws open. It's sometimes said to swallow stars. And this is the thing. This is not a frail depiction of death, right? He's a strong, virulent, powerful version of death, right? And they have a great story that he's a part of. He's linked to the story with Quetzalcoatl, who obviously is the feathered serpent, who's another huge figure in mythological terms. That guy's been around forever. That guy's like, man, if I had to, you're like a Tim Duncan, where you're one of the best ever. You're one of the best ever. You've got tons of championships. You've been in all kind of movies, all kind of video games, because that's where gods play, right? Gods play the game of who get talked about the most, because they have a ranking system, and the less, the more we talk about them, that their power grows. That's literally how the system works, right, Hathor? Right? And then they give you favors for talking about them. That's why I do this channel, right? So I can talk about the gods, and they'll be like, man, that guy has really been speaking my name. Well, you give some favor on him for all of them, right? So Quetzalcoatl, again, is tied to this story. Like, you always want to be linked to another story. And in this story, obviously, this is a big story for you. This is a big story for you. It's how Quetzalcoatl created us. Like, in that mythology, which is, man, you guys got to really get up on it. They got like all these multiple ages. Like, the world has existed 4 other times. 4 other times the world existed, and it rose and it ended. And we're the 5th time, right? And we barely got here. We were like that family that, like, you already have 4 kids, and then you're like, right? That was us. We were 5th kid. We're 5th kid. I don't know how many of you guys have 5 of you guys in the family, but that 5th kid is always a whole lot younger than everybody else. And you're just like, man. And the oldest sister kind of ends up raising that kid, because, like, the parents are already like, that's who we are. We're that kid, right? We're that kid. They actually created us from the bones of the previous civilization. So Quetzalcoatl, and here's the thing, like, literally, when I tell you guys this story, man, the other gods did not want us to be. It was a debate. It was a debate. It was never a debate from the first age to the second age to the third age to the fourth age. It was not a debate that they were going to continue to make ages. This time it was a debate. And a lot of the gods were like, literally, this is the story. I'm not making this up. A lot of the gods were like, and basically, even when they told Quetzalcoatl he could do it, they're like, yeah, whatever. You go do it. You go do it. If you can do it, all right. We don't care otherwise. So Quetzalcoatl, man, really shoulders a lot for all of us who are alive right now in this age. This entire age owes this guy a debt, right? Because he goes down into the underworld, no lights, right? He just has to take his own self down there. And he's got to deal with, Mr. Bonyface here, right? Like, this is where it's at. And he's like, yeah, you want to get, he has a wife, by the way. She's down there. We'll talk about her in another segment, right? So he goes down to this underworld, and they say, like, you got to gather up these bones, right? He's gathering up the bones of the previous civilization. So we are infused with the previous civilization's bones, but we're also broke. Like, the bones were all chipped up and broken. I don't know if you guys realize this, but you guys are all made up of chipped up bones. That's your core, is a bunch of broken bones. Yeah, I know, it's shocking to me too, right? Yeah, we're all made up of bones of others, right? That's where we come from. The chipped up parts, by the way, not the good fully formed parts, right? He dropped the bones. See, you know your myth. He dropped the bones. They all got broken into tiny pieces. That's where we come from. Okay, and I don't know how you guys feel about it, but I'm like, all right, it's the reason why we have flaws. By the way, if you guys didn't realize why you have to forgive flaws in people, it's because that's who we are. But that's not the important part. The important part was that he did it for us. He's like, I'm going to go down here, right, to Mictlantecuhtli's realm and watch him laugh at me as I fall and stumble and do all the things that gods never do, right? All the stuff gods never do, he does it. He endures all that so that we can be born, right? So this is kind of what the backdrop. So this is kind of it's death, but it's out in any morality. Like, death is not morality. There's no courtroom here. There's no, eternal reward. There's no punishment. It's just more about inevitability, and you move through the system. So that tells you something about, like, like I said, it's not the Aztec culture that we know it. It's the Mesoamerican, I'll call it. And they divided it into forces. So we see his relationship to it. Okay. And here's the thing. They always kind of understood that Life feeds on all these forces of life. The blood fed the sun, the heart sustained cosmic order, bones preserve continuity was also what this meant. And Mictlantecuhtli stands at the end of that chain. All these things have meant something. So he is the keeper of like the final form, like the final, form of it. And he's not the cause of violence, but he is the destination. And again, he does have a wife, and she's known as the Lady of the Dead. Man, and some scholars trace the Dia de los Muertos tradition back to her cult. So she's worthy of a whole different like breakdown stream of her own. So I'm gonna have to get to that at some point. Okay, hang on, let me get a drink here. So if as we're defining kind of the other deities to make it make sense, right? To make the math. If Mot, as we see, is drought, and Hades, who we talked about, is a ruler, then Mictlantecuhtli I see as more of like the administrator. He makes sure it's all going to get done, right? He's the one where like, can I talk to your manager? He's the one who doesn't take your call, right? When you want to talk to the manager and the manager never shows up, it's him. Because he's the one at the top of it, and he's not trying. Whatever you said doesn't matter, right? I'm sorry, you're past your expiration date, man. That's what it is. So he understands. You just got to be cool with him because he isn't really personally after you, right? So it's never personal, right? So then we come to the last one here, and this is Baron Samedi, right? Who's just like, man, the laughing guardian of death, right? We don't have to, first of all, like I said, this guy right here is death with style, right? And like I said, man, I think that's a blunt in his mouth. And it just looks like that to me. Maybe that says more about how I grew up. But you got a cane, you got, you're sewing some chest, you got chain on, okay. It could be worse, right? Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm mentally preparing myself for, like, it could be worse. If it's that dude, seriously, I'm just going to be like, you know what? All right. So this is who he is. And he comes from the Haitian Creole, right? That whole realm, right? So this is deep into those roots, right? He comes from, he's the French Baron Saturday. He's a spirit, right? He's a Loa, right? That's who he is. And he's intimately tied to death. He's in the cemeteries, graves, and the boundary between life. And this is from Haitian Vodou. So he's at the heart of the culture, right? Like, he's not loud or obscene. He's just kind of cool guy who smokes and drinks rum, rum or cigars, quote unquote, right? He might tell some off the hook jokes, and that's what he is. But you always know, thank you so much. You always know who this cat is. When he shows up the top hat, the coattail, glasses, right? Everything. Like, he's always just, look, this is how he is. And how he functions is as a gatekeeper. He doesn't just like rule the dead. He decides who crosses over. This is important for this mythology because understanding a lot of what we are calling like, even the Creole, like Creole voodoo, even like, Black American mythologies all revolve around like liminal spaces. Like, that's why the swamps and the rivers, they weren't just like with the spirit. These are liminal spaces where the connections between the worlds get thinner. And he operates at those spaces. Like, you can always kind of catch a sight to him, and he decides like what branch you go off into, right? So he's a guy, he's like, he carries a lot of weight, but he's gonna laugh at okay. The hard part about this guy is that he will laugh in your face, like unrepentant. He will laugh at your face and just be like, okay, it is what it is. So you gotta be able to roll with that. So when he laughs at you, you just gotta laugh too, or maybe crack back, and just you gotta accept it, right? Because he also, like, sometimes he works as a healer, so he can also prevent death. So he sometimes is said, he decides maybe that someone should die, but he doesn't actually like facilitate you dying. He leaves that to other forces. So he has a dual role. He's sometimes a destroyer and a healer, and that's rare because he doesn't embody like death as any type of annihilation. He embodies transition. Again, and that ties into those liminal spaces. That's why this stuff really matters. He's a spirit of graves and cemeteries, and like, he's bound to like the oldest cemetery has been designated as his resting place. So they have a sacred world, space where they're like, that's his resting place. And it functions as a crossroads itself. So this is a place where, I'm not telling you guys to try and go into another dimension and try something nonsensical, but that would be a place to do it. But again, I'm telling you not to do it. And I know somebody's going to try and do it, and that's how movies get made. So, hey, do what you guys got to do, okay? But this guy is also like, when you meet this guy, he's not a solemn guy. He laughs, he swears, he teases you, he parodies death. Again, he's rum, cigars, curse words. This is who he is. This is how he rolls. So death is not fear. Death is disruptive, right? You're living a different life. You had to go from this to now you're over here, and it requires some other things. And he's related to a lot of other cool spirits. He has a wife as well. Man Brigitte is another death-related Loa, and she deals with justice, cemeteries, and ancestral cleansing. And I talked about her as well. I did another whole triad with her, and like, you talk about, like, it's weird, man. I'm gonna say this, and it's weird. It's really weird because, like, if somehow a representation of death can be hot, she is that, right? She's like this gorgeous, like, makeup. She's always lavish. Like, think about who would he be with, man? Like, look at this guy, and like, what do you think his lady would look like? You can go check her out. She's on the channel, even though the channel's not behind me. Go check it out on the channel. I do a whole profile on her and her resonance and her importance. And both of them kind of remain very high socially. Like, they've been around for a long time. I'm gonna say, man, like, I'm gonna guess that these guys start about 1,500 years ago. Like, that's gonna be my guess. We'll get to the chronological part here on the second. She is Man Brigitte, right? Let me see if I can copy it if I can put it in the comments here from my notes. There you go. Yeah, she's a really, really, like, interesting figure on her own, like, under her own merits, right? And for both these guys, like, they both still exist right now. Like, socially and historically, they both still have resonance right now. In fact, with both of them, like, Baron Samedi appears in Marvel Comics. Starts back in 1971. Like, that's actually the first, like, inkling I got, hearing about this guy. Like, I not in 1973. I wasn't reading comics then, but I remember him being part of the Brother Voodoo storyline, and he would appear. So that's my first exposure to this guy, came through Marvel Comics, right? And this was like the whole AIM, the large story, and he's done some other comic books as well, like Shadow Man, Grim Fairy Tales, Voodoo Child. There's been, dude, come on now, you read my notes about the James Bond. I was just about to get to the James Bond. Like, yeah, that he's a character in James Bond movies as well. Like, so yeah, absolutely. So this character, like, he silently gets his fame completely out there, right? He is not done. He stayed very modern. Comic books, the big screen, James Bond movies, cool vest, everything. Man, got a nice, this guy is doing well as far as, like, mythological characters go. So he's carrying it well, extremely well. Good shot on that one. You know your stuff on that one. So anyway, I broke out this timeline. I just kind of want to go through it because I think it's interesting now that we've got a little bit of knowledge of, like, who they actually are, to kind of look at the timelines of, like, how they, manifested, where they came about, like, and in sync with one another, like, in sync with each other, right? All right, let me take it back to the beginning here.
Archive entry: the Death Triad Timeline, MOT, Mictlantecuhtli, and Baron Samedi, 3000 BCE. In the Levant and Mesopotamia, the Proto-West Semitic linguistic root for mort, meaning death, emerges.
See, 3,000. Okay, first of all, let me answer you. I grew up on Bond, right? Thank for the Brit. I grew up on Bond, man. Like my middle name is Sean because of Sean Connery. Like no BS. And personally, this is completely off topic, but personally, my Bond is Pierce Brosnan, man. That's my Bond. That's forever. My Bond is Pierce, right? So yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's get back into it. Okay. So
this matters because it forms the conceptual foundation for the later personification of death as MOT.
That's deep, man. 3000 BCE. So Mott, and I don't know if we're still talking about Mott very much now, but 3000 BCE. So 5,000 years. Well, at least I'm talking about him, and you're listening, right? At least so discussions about Mott are still taking place, right?
2000 BCE. In the Levant, Canaanite fertility and death seasonal theology develops. This matters because the cycle of rain versus drought becomes embedded in mythic cosmology.
That was the story I was talking about with it's Baal Roger Moore. Okay, I got a lot of love for Roger Moore. I got a lot of love for Roger Moore too. And Roger Moore was in the Cannonball Run movies, which are canon for me. Okay, so yeah, I got a love for Roger Moore too. Okay. So at any rate, so Ma'at is established as death, right? And then that myth, right, we see the death versus the agriculture thing go down, right? So that's some old mythology. Now, this is an interesting one here, right? Okay.
2000 BCE. In West Africa, among Fon and Yoruba cultural regions, ancestral and death spirit traditions develop. This matters because pre-colonial African ancestor veneration forms the spiritual foundation for what will later become the Jid lineage in Haitian Vodou.
You see that there? So brother Samedi, basically they're saying he's coming from, Fon, West African roots as far back as what was it, 1800 years back, right? So this is pretty deep in terms of establishing his timeline because he's deep in the streets, man. He's absolutely deep in the streets.
1500 BCE. In Ugarit, at Ras Shamra in modern Syria, the Ugaritic religious system matures, including the traditions of Baal and Mot.
Yeah, those are the two that I was talking about. Baal and these guys are, this is like the Lakers and Celtics. This is like Bird and Magic early days. Like this is the rivalry that really carried their mythologies.
This matters because Mot emerges as personified death opposing the storm god Baal in a structured theological system. 1500 BCE. In pre-classic Mesoamerica, layered underworld concepts begin to form.
So this is where, okay, let's see, what's that timeline here? 1500. So 1500 BCE.
God Baal in a structured theological system. 1500.
So 1500 BCE, now we're starting to see the foundation for the Mesoamerican layered system of the underworld.
BCE.
So the roots of Mictlantecuhtli.
Mesoamerica, layered underworld concepts begin to form. This matters because early belief in a multi-layered realm of the dead establishes the cosmological base for the later Aztec system of Mictlan.
So this is where it comes from. So this is an old system, right? 1500 years before the Common Era. So now we're talking 3,500 years. That was the foundation of this system. That's impressive.
1400 BCE. In Ugarit, the Baal cycle begins circulating in oral tradition. This matters because the central myth establishes Mot as the devourer of Baal and the embodiment of drought and cosmic interruption.
And that was like cosmic interruption realized. It was about the collapse of civilization. And, it's debatable on who won that because civilizations, I believe, is kind of destroyed by the time they restore them. It's a little complex story. It wasn't an easy ride.
1300 BCE. In Ugarit, the Baal cycle is recorded on clay tablets in Ugaritic script.
Think about that. Those clay tablets. We're reading from those clay tablets now. Right now. I mean, that's an amazing feat of just humanity. These clay tablets with its complex Ugaritic script.
This matters because these tablets become the primary surviving source describing Mot's character, realm, and seasonal conflict. 1200 BCE. In the Levant, Ugarit is destroyed during the Late Bronze Age collapse.
Exactly, right? Like, exactly. This is what the myth was leading up to, right?
This matters because the cult of Mot and Baal is disrupted, but the buried tablets preserve their mythology for rediscovery.
Wow, that's how powerful. Like, they would have died out. Those names and those translations were that close to dying out if they had not created those tablets. That cultural expression would have completely died out.
500 BCE. In ancient Israel and Judah, the Hebrew term mavet appears in biblical literature. This matters because it reflects linguistic continuity with earlier West Semitic death concepts connected to Mot. 500 BCE. In the Oaxaca region, skeletal death imagery appears in Zapotec and Mixtec ritual art.
They're starting to represent it. This is a long time ago, 500 BCE. That's still a ways back, and they're already taking on that bone imagery. So this is a brand identity here.
This matters because it foreshadows the later Aztec iconography of Mictlantecuhtli as a skeletal lord of the dead. 900 CE. In central Mexico, Toltec cosmology influences regional underworld theology. This matters because structured multi-layered afterlife systems become normalized across central Mexican civilizations.
And this is really like the roots are strong at this point. We'll see that spin off in a lot, like a beautiful multi-layer culturally in how they express this.
1325 CE. In the Valley of Mexico, Tenochtitlan is founded. This matters because the rise of the Mexica state formalizes worship of Mictlantecuhtli as ruler of Mictlan.
Wow, he's deep now. Now he's certified, he's bona fide. You have a much larger civilization, a thriving civilization that's all seeing you as the ruler of the underworld.
1400 CE. In Tenochtitlan, Mictlantecuhtli is codified as the sovereign of the nine-layered underworld.
Wow, and this is official. Now you're codified officially.
This matters because he becomes established as a central figure in Mexica cosmology. 1450 CE. In central Mexico, the myth of Quetzalcoatl retrieving bones from Mictlan spreads widely.
That's the story I was talking about. It's like I said, this is a great story. I think he did an all right job of telling the story. You should definitely go and check it out. It's part of the myth feed. That's up now.
This matters because it positions death not as an ending, but as the source material for the creation of...
No, I put together this time stream here myself. Like I'll upload the what I have a reading off, but I developed these, and basically what I did was take the 3 timelines of each deity of my own curation, and then I kind of weave them in together. So that gives me the flexibility to talk about multiple different types of deities, right? So I may take this info and use it for another stream about gods or whatever, but it's like I kind of got a big timeline of gods. So yeah, so I'll always come, like I said, I'm gonna put some research into it so I can give you guys something that's hopefully not what everybody else is doing.
Humanity. 1487 CE. At the Templo Maya in Tenochtitlan, major temple expansions integrate large-scale sacrificial rites tied to underworld cosmology.
Yeah, that's the scary part. Yeah, like I've always been torn about the underworld about the sacrificial part, because sometimes I hear they didn't do this, but I don't know, man. I don't know. There's recently a show. It was this recent rendition of Time Bandits, and they go and visit like this culture, and they were like, basically they presented as like, no, they weren't sacrificing people. So I don't know. And they kind of frame it as it was, the conquerors framed them as that way, right? Bad PR. Right. So yeah, so that's a deep one right there, whether the sacrifice is real. So I'm not going to stand on the human sacrifice yet.
This matters because imperial ritual reinforces the cycle of death and rebirth within state theology. 1500 CE. From West Africa to the Caribbean, the transatlantic slave trade intensifies.
So this is really where barons getting this is where we see like the transmission of West, specifically along the western part of Africa, starts getting transmitted over into like South America, into the Caribbean, into South America as well, right? This is where he comes from, essentially.
This matters because African spiritual systems, including ancestor veneration and death spirits, are carried into the Americas under forced diaspora.
Yeah.
1521 CE. In Mexico, the Spanish conquest of Tenochtitlan occurs. This matters because official Aztec state worship is disrupted, yet underworld beliefs continue in syncretic form.
So Mott, you notice at this point, Mott is like, no one's talking about Mott at all, right? This has been several hundred years since he's had any mention.
1570 CE. In New Spain, colonial codices record skeletal underworld imagery. This matters because visual documentation preserves the image of Mictlantecuhtli despite suppression. 1000.
I mean, and that's one of the, like, man, one of the things about both these two guys, versus Mictlantecuhtli and Baron Samedi, is like, this is all under cultural suppression at the same time, right? These guys are thriving and growing and spreading at times when these belief systems are intentionally being suppressed, and yet they're still here, right?
697 CE. In Haiti, the Treaty of Ryswick establishes French control over Western Hispaniola. This matters because Catholic colonial structures overlay African spiritual systems.
And this is kind of one of the unique things. I don't know if you see it in any other belief systems or two other belief systems working together, but like the Catholic system and this African spiritual system, they merge, right? On a lot of levels, they merge. It's under the umbrella of Catholicism, but it's just that the structure of Catholicism worked for them, right? That's the crazy thing about it. Like, so when they told them the system, structurally it fits. When you add in all the saints are basically like the Loa or the Iwe, like both these two, like the Loa or the Iwe. And so if you feel it, like they all believe in one, monotheistic. There's still one ultimate creator, and I'm struggling with it because it comes from the Yoruba. I think it's a Olodumare, right? So that's a crazy alignment of how these two systems were able to merge. So even though they're like, yeah, you guys are Catholic now, and this is your worship, they're like, oh, okay, it's the same structure. So we're just filling in who we want, who aligns. So it's through alignment. So they're not being dishonest to what they're representing. That's kind of the crazy thing about it, is they're not being dishonest in how they merge these two belief systems. They simply filled in their already developed spirits into these structures that structurally works, right? I don't know of any two belief systems that have merged the way that they have for so long, and it's functionally still working right now after, man, like hundreds of years, right? 500 years, something like that.
1700 CE. In Saint-Domingue, Haitian Vodou begins consolidating through African and Catholic syncretism.
Yeah.
This matters because the Jede spirits, including Baron Samedi, take structured form. 1791 CE. In northern Haiti, the Boys Caiman ceremony ignites the Haitian Revolution.
And that's where he's like deep into their cultural history. Because for Haiti, like, if Haiti again being the first independent Western civilization in the Western Hemisphere, right? The first Black civilization in the Western Union, obviously had to fight for their independence, and they credit a lot of this with relying on their spirituality, which it includes Man Brigitte, right? Who they call on. Man, the other deity, man. I did a feature on her yesterday. I'll have to get you guys her name. Who was also in, like mainly. It was mainly about the spirits coming back to assist for the revolution. Like the oppression had got too great, so they fight back when the oppression happens and it's too severe. So he's uniquely tied to their culture. That whole belief system is uniquely tied to their culture in a way that a lot of other deities, I don't think, have that effect. So they're uniquely tied to their modern history in that way. Their veneration was uniquely tied and seen as being crucial to an actual victory for them, right? So that's how live and direct they are with the community still.
This matters because Vodou spirituality becomes intertwined with political liberation. 1800 CE. In Mexico, Dia de los Muertos traditions develop in syncretic form. This matters because indigenous death cosmology merges with Catholic observances, preserving ancestral reverence. 1804 CE. In Haiti, independence is declared. This matters because Vodou becomes embedded in national identity despite...
Yeah, see what I was saying, like 100%. Like now, this is a part of who we are, like forever.
Future suppression. 1860 CE. In Haiti, a concordat with the Vatican recognizes Catholicism officially. This matters because Vodou is marginalized publicly yet continues underground. 1900 CE. In Mexico City, archaeological excavations reveal Aztec underworld iconography. This matters because modern scholarship reconstructs the theology of Mictlan and its ruler. 1900 CE. In Haiti, Baron Samedi solidifies as the distinct head of the Gide family in practice. This matters because he emerges clearly as cemetery gatekeeper and master of death.
This dude's strong, man. The master of death, right? I love every single bit of this rock star, man.
1920 CE. During the United States occupation of Haiti, Western media begins exoticizing Vodou. This matters because Baron Samedi's image enters global imagination in distorted form.
Now, this is like what we saw, and I didn't understand as a child why we vilify voodoo belief systems, right? I didn't understand it. I grew up in a very Christian, Baptist household, right? Well, it's weird though, because we have cultural roots that go back, to a lot of these belief systems, right? Like strong cultural beliefs. So when they switched over, when my family switched over, I'm not quite sure, right? Because my grandmother really switched over, right? They're hardcore about this, right? But I do remember watching films like Serpent in the Rainbow, and just like anytime you saw a voodoo character in a movie or voodoo in general, it was always depicted in this really, really negative way. It's a super negative light. And I didn't understand, like the invasion of Haiti would kind of explain because you make propaganda off of, you producing something and, culturally, and you make, propaganda that kind of suits that, right? That makes that all kind of tied together. So now it kind of really makes me understand why, like, we're invading Haiti. We're kind of technically at war, I guess. Thank you for coming back. And, you invade Haiti, and now, like, you make propaganda that says voodoo's bad, right? You always attack culturally. And so that's kind of what happened. It was the attack cultural, but we see how this wasn't that long ago, man. Serpent in the Rainbow, like, Angel Heart, things like that, which did not depict voodoo as, culturally helpful, right? Or culturally positive. So, I'm just going to kind of point that out, but let's kind of go, because it's kind of fascinating. You're back, and now we're back into like 19, I think we're at 1928 now. So we're close, right? We're almost modern times.
1928 CE. In Syria, Ugaritic tablets are rediscovered at Ras Shamra.
Well, at last Mott is back. At last, Mott was gone for all that time. It took till 1928. Now he's back. But for hundreds of years, maybe 1,000 years, nobody was even hollering your name. Like, think about that. This is the ultimate time capsule. And now Mott is like, I'm back, right? I'm back. I'm back like I'm avenging my brother's death. I'm back like this is a remix tape, right? He's back among the pantheon that he started. He literally started this stuff, way back in the day. And now he's the OG watching these new guys like try to take all his shine. But now he's back on the scene in competitive terms.
This matters because MOT's mythology is restored to modern scholarship. 1930 CE. In Europe, translation and academic analysis of the Ball cycle begins.
Oh man, and now he's rolling. Now 1936, now they're talking about the story. They're breaking it down. He's getting a little traction, right? He's starting to get good again.
This matters because MOT is reconstructed as an ecological death archetype. 1973 CE. Globally, the James Bond film Live and Let Die features...
See that? Do you see how prepared I was? Do you see how prepared I was to talk about facts that you were speaking on already? I knew that this was in there. I knew that Baron Samedi was going to be represented in the James Bond movie timeline, and just shows you how far this guy has come, right? This is how far he's come, right? Like, I'm with you all the way. Like, think about it, man. We've taken Baron Samedi from like 1500 year BCE, right? From Africa, right to like James Bond in it, right? Like that's, hey man, that's chronicles right there. That's chronicalization right there. That I show my man, like, ooh, man, like, and here's the thing. I'm not doing it because if I have to see him, I want him to be like, oh, that's my guy right there. Because I do believe he's the kind of deity who would be like, that's my guy. Yeah, that guy right there. He's all right. He's with me. That's kind of how he would roll. Like, I kind of feel like, and I'm not, like I said, man, let me please as many of these gods as possible. Let me please as many of them as possible, because you never know. Like, you never know, right? Because I'll never know, right? So that's kind of how we're rolling. So this is my guy right here. We're plotting. We're showing like how he sees you. You're a shining star, no matter who you are. Okay,
the character named Baron Samedi. This matters because the name becomes internationally recognized.
Internationally recognized. Internationally recognized, right? Internationally known and locally respected are the only two things I've ever aspired to be in my life, right? Internationally known and locally respected. And he sums up all that. He literally sums up, because now you're on the stage. Like, you're on the stage. You're on the stage. Like, you're clean. You're ready for the stage. You're ready for the presents. Like, you're ready for the talk shows. You got something to say. It's going to be off the hook. You're going to have some rumps. You might be a little boozy when you get down there. And it's all going to be good, right? Yeah, right? Yeah, okay. I'm going to keep my nose clean. I'm keeping my nose clean. But, you know, this is how this guy, his arc is just amazing, right?
Authentic Vodou theology. 2000 CE. Globally, comparative mythology research expands analysis of MOT, Mictlantecuhtli,
right,
and Baron Samedi.
So we're into talking about all these guys,
each
right?
is increasingly understood as culturally distinct models of death.
Right, which is kind of what we're doing what I'm doing right now, right? We're just like, you know,
rather than
seeing all the differences that actually come out of these characters, right?
2010 CE. In Haiti, Vodou practices are visible during earthquake mourning rituals. This matters because Baron Samedi and the Jid remain active symbols of resilience.
Right, that's 2010. Like, they're still hanging on to their cultural belief systems, which is an amazing thing when your cultural systems are being attacked,
mourning,
right?
And ancestral continuity.
So, okay, man, that was a wild ride, right? Like, I gave us, like, what, 3,500 years of the history of three, you know, death or aspects of death, three of, like, the top notch from the OG down to, like, you know, my main man, Baron Samedi, right? So, look, I appreciate you being in, Kat, and supporting the channel. I'm going to be back tomorrow, and, man, I don't know what. Like, I kind of feel like, what was I going to talk about tomorrow? I got some ideas that I got to work on. I got like 3 ideas, and we'll see which one of them I can develop. But, okay, so the information that I was going to listen to, I'm going to upload that on my other channel. I have a channel called Myth Archives, and that's where I put just like, I package up my study material, and I upload it there. Right, this one I play direct, but it'll be there so you can just listen to it. If you ever want to suck up that information without hearing me yap over it, I don't even take that personally. But that's there for you as resource. The myth stories that I'm telling you on these, I do some, you know, mythic readings on these guys, and those are always going to be available on Nine World Chronicles on this channel. And then you know, I do, like, at night I do a live stream where you can just kind of listen to myth, and sometimes throughout the day. So I'm adding some new myth stories. Let me know what you guys are really into, but I'm going to get up out of here now. Again, like I said, I am the Leon Phelps of mythology, and I'm here for your mythological queries, right? At all times. Hit me up anytime. Yeah, I hear you right there, man. I hear you right there. So I'll be back. I'm looking forward to speaking. Love you guys for stopping in. Definitely appreciate the support, and we'll be back, you know, a few hours from now with myths.